Everything about Volkswagen's 7th generation transporter van is different, but much is also the same. The tough build, interior quality, torquey diesel engines, and strong residuals of this mid-sized LCV will all be recognisable to existing owners, who will be intrigued by the new PHEV and EV powertrains that shared development with Ford has made possible.
Think of a Volkswagen van and it's quite probable you'll be picturing this one, the Transporter. It is, after all, the brand's best-selling commercial vehicle with a production run that stretches all the way back to 1950. Here we have the 7th generation T7 version, a mid-sized van that's significantly improved in many of the areas that really matter. All of those Transporter models were aimed at the same medium-sized van segment that this one targets too, right in the heart of the commercial vehicle sector. Business people shopping here need something more spacious than a compact LCV like Volkswagen's own Caddy, but they don't want to stretch all the way up to the higher running costs of a really large van. It's an ultra competitive segment, thoroughly dominated in our market by the model that this 7th generation Transporter now shares all its engineering with. That, of course, it's Ford's Transit Custom. The Transporter story goes right back to Germany's bleak post-war era in 1949, when a Dutch vehicle importer called Ben Pon spotted workers at Volkswagen's Wolfsburg factory using a stripped-down Beetle to move parts around. Inspired, he sketched out a platform for a versatile commercial vehicle which would go on to set the template for the kind of spacious modern van that we're familiar with today. That T1 Transporter sold for 17 years before a more spacious T2 model was introduced in 1967. That was followed by a more angular T3 version in 1979. More familiar on modern roads are the T4 design of 1990, its replacement T5 of 2003, and this modern Transporter's direct predecessor, the T6, and that sold between 2015 and 2024. Thanks to the Project Cyclone agreement between the two companies, every modern era Ford and VW LCV is now a shared design, and Ford led the development of this one, as they did with the Ranger Amarok pickup. Volkswagen has worked hard, though, to give this Transporter its own identity and has slotted it into its bully commercial vehicle range alongside the ID. Buzz Cargo EV and the Multivan MPV, which now forms the basis for the brand's successful California camper. Previous Transporter models have usually been seen as a quality choice in this segment, so can this Ford-engineered Mark 7 version follow suit? What impact will the new PHEV and EV derivatives have? And just how Volkswagen actually is it? We'll be finding that out here. You can research other models in this segment by downloading the Car and Driving app, but if your interest is specifically in this Transporter, you'll need to stay here with us for the industry's most comprehensive review, the Car and Driving Road Test. A major oversight with the design of the previous T6 generation Transporter was not to allow for any kind of electrification, but contrast that with what's on offer here, a choice of EV powertrains, including the most powerful one in the segment. Plus, there's another Transporter first, a PHEV engine too. The only other model in the segment that offers that is this VW's Ford Transit Custom cousin, which donates all its powertrains and all their associated transmissions to this Volkswagen, including the conventional diesel unit we're trying here. This is the kind of power plant that most operators will want for quite a few years to come. Volkswagen badges it as a TDI, but basically it's a Ford Eco Blue unit, and not a particularly modern one either. Still, there is plenty of power output choice. This 2-litre black pump fueled engine is offered either with 110 PS and a 6-speed manual gearbox, 150 PS if you want the option of an 8-speed automatic, or as in this case with 170 PS, in which case the van has to be had in auto form. Most will want the mid-level 150 PS unit, and if you choose that with an automatic, you'll be offered the option of 4Motion 4-wheel drive. If you're prepared to step into the brave new world of electrification with your Transporter, but you're not quite ready to expose your business to the UK's currently somewhat flaky public charging network, then Volkswagen hopes instead it has a solution in the form of the e-hybrid PHEV model. This offers quite a prodigious output, 232 PS, and that's courtesy of a 2.5 litre turbocharged petrol engine. This is paired with an 85 kilowatt electric motor, and that offers up to 57 miles of EV range. If, however, a full EV it has to be, only the e-Transporter will satisfy you. Now, there are 3 versions of this full electric model, offering either 136 PS, 218 PS, or even 286 PS. All use a single electric motor to drive the rear wheels, although a dual motor all-wheel drive model will follow at a later date. And they're all powered by a 64 kilowatt hour battery that should give you around 200 miles of range from a full charge. As you'd expect, the EV version is very quiet at a cruise. What was more surprising for us, though, is that this diesel variant is too. Now, that's something you'll immediately notice if you're trading up from a previous generation model, especially, incidentally, if the model that you're driving has the optional sound insulating glass that's been fitted here. Given that it was mainly developed by Ford, you'd hope that this 7th generation Transporter might feel just a little bit more involving to drive than its predecessors did, and it really does. There's certainly less body roll and more traction through the corners, although the improvements are dulled down a little bit by quite a light steering rack, although obviously you're certainly going to appreciate that around town. It's ride quality, though, that might really sell you this van. We haven't driven a mid-sized model that handles poor urban surfaces better than this one does. Get out of this VW and then try one of the competing Stellantis group models and you'll notice this VW's improvement. One drawback of the electrified Transporter lies with half a tonne less of braked towing weight. This has been increased on the diesel version up to 2.8 tonnes. Despite this generation Transporter's increased load capacity, the standard roof height version remains under 2 metres in height, and that's good for easy access to conventional multi-storey car parks, of course. There is quite a tight turning circle too, 11.8 metres with this short wheelbase model. This is only around a metre more than a Golf hatch, or 13 metres with the long wheelbase version. This is apparently a new interpretation of what a Transporter should look like. At least it's more than just a rebadged Transit Custom, which is all this model is in the cargo bay and beneath the bodywork. As with that Ford, if you don't want this panel van, there are various body styles. There's a double cab drop side truck and 2 passenger carrying versions, the 5 or 6 seater combi crew van and the 9-seater shuttle minibus. There are 2 body lengths, 5,050mm and 5,450, and 2 roof heights, just under 2 metres and just under 2.5. The standard version is a useful 146mm longer than its predecessor. Across the range, our wheel sizes now go right up to 19 inches, although we're not quite sure why you'd ever want wheel rims that big on a van. Volkswagen, of course, is keen to emphasise the design cues which differentiate this T7 body shape, many of them referencing previous Transporter models. The so-called bully line, which separates the upper and lower portions of the body. Now that draws from the T1. While the shape of the front grille, that was influenced by the T5. The LED headlamps reference the most recent T6. On the PHEV and EV versions, the charging port is under the right headlamp. At the rear, there's this protective Transporter badged bar. The LED tail lamps are similar in design to those on the Amarok pickup, and Volkswagen's characteristic C-shaped lamp. This can be emphasised if you add in the exclusive light signature that we have here. So, time to grasp the Volkswagen branded Ford key and take a look inside. Volkswagen claims that a previous Transporter owner will find this cab both familiar and revolutionary. There's certainly a very different and much more car-like ambiance inside this 7th generation model, courtesy of quite a standard fit screen fest, a 12-inch fully digital instrument panel and a 13-inch central touchscreen. These are both reskinned versions of displays that appear in the equivalent Ford. Volkswagen has used its own fonts and graphics, and they've scattered a few of its own physical controls around the fascia for differentiation too. There's the usual mid-sized van choice of 2 or 3 seat formats, and as with the Transit Custom, there's an impressively flat cabin floor here, which is great for urban deliveries because that means that you can more easily scramble across from one side of the cab to the other if you don't want to get out into the traffic. Plus, of course, not having any central impediments better facilitates the carriage of a middle-seated passenger. All good, but is this basically a rebranded Transit Custom cab? Given this model's shared parentage, that's what you might expect, but Volkswagen has actually worked quite hard to differentiate things here. Everything from the mid-dash beltline upwards is actually unique to the Transporter. It's allowed Volkswagen to position the cup holder on the driver's side closer to the windscreen rather than right by the door. Plus the open storage area behind the screens is slightly larger, and even with base trim you get a lid on the passenger side glove box there. Plus there's some extra rubber in the top compartment of the door to stop your keys from sliding around too much. The multifunction steering wheel is bespoke to the Transporter too. It's designed to be operated even when you're wearing gloves, but it's not such a good thing actually because it means that this Volkswagen can't offer the neat option that you get on the Ford of the wheel being able to tilt over and create a work surface. Small detail cab enhancements that drivers of previous Transporters will notice include the replacement of the traditional handbrake lever with a dashboard switch, and also the fact that the gear selector on the automatic versions is now located on the steering column, which frees up space for a larger central storage cubby. Tick the right options boxes and you'll get more and more powerful USB ports dotted around the cabin. It's a pity though that the wireless charging mat isn't standard with the volume trim levels. Across the range there's a usual pull-out panel in the centre of the middle seat backrest. This reveals a work surface with an elasticated strap. The EV version offers the option of a 230 volt or 400 watt seat side 3-pin socket for energising things like power tools. Predictably, there is a slight price rise over the previous generation Transporter, but don't expect the asking figures here to be that much different from what you'd pay for a comparable Ford Transit Custom. Now, pricing as we filmed in summer 2025, it was starting from around £39,000, including VAT, but it's pretty easy to push that figure up to closer to £50,000 as you increase size, gross vehicle weight and trim level. For the TDI variant, like the one that we have here, there are 3 trim levels: Commerce, Commerce Plus, or as in this case, Commerce Pro. As we filmed, the BEV electric model cost from around £47,000, including VAT, but after deduction of the government's £5,000 plug-in van grant. That battery-powered model comes either in Commerce Plus or Commerce Pro forms. That's your quick guide to the panel van range, which is our focus here. If you need more space for passengers in your Transporter, then there are 2 options. Firstly, the Combi, which is basically a crew cab model with space for 5 and the option to add in a 6th seat. As we filmed, that variant was priced from just over £42,000, including VAT. Or if you basically need a small minibus, then there's a Transporter Shuttle. That can seat 8 as standard with the option to add in a 9th seat. As we filmed, that variant was priced from just under £49,000, again including VAT. Both those Transporter models were only being offered with TDI power at the time of the test, but we do expect alternative EV versions to follow. Let's get back to the panel van lineup. There are 3 gross vehicle weight ratings. The T28 with 2,800 kilos, this T30 with 3,025, and the heaviest T32 with 3,225. As for body shapes, there are 2 wheelbase lengths and 2 roof heights. We've got the short wheelbase standard roof height version here. You get a wider choice of body styles than with most competitors. As well as the conventional panel van, there's not only a crew van version with 2 rows of seats and a bulkhead, VW calls that the Combi, but also a shuttle variant for those needing to take more people with 3 rows of seats, windows all round, and also space for up to 9. There is also a 4th body style unique to this model and its Ford Transit custom development cousin, which VW calls the Plus. Now this has an L-shaped composite bulkhead, and that splits the rear compartment with a 2-seat fully trimmed second row alongside a full-length cargo space. When it comes to standard equipment levels, Volkswagen hasn't always been particularly generous with transporter customers, but they could hardly continue that policy at the significantly increased prices being asked here. So it is that even base commerce spec includes LED headlights with high beam control, cruise control 2 with a predictive speed limiter, rear parking sensors, 2 LED lights in the cargo bay. In the cab, there's a 12-inch digital driver's display, air conditioning, and a 6-way adjustable driver's seat with an armrest. Plus you also get a load-through bulkhead and a folding table too that pulls out from the middle seat. Media connectivity, now that's taken care of by a 13-inch touchscreen infotainment display with wireless app connect, smartphone mirroring, and a 5G modem. All EV models also get a heat pump, and both EV and PHEV variants come with an electric auxiliary heater. Is it worth stretching up to a pricier trim level? Well, they're really aimed at owner drivers. Commerce Plus adds some useful things: an alarm system, front parking sensors, a rear view camera, a leatherette steering wheel cover, also mud flaps, a steel spare wheel, and body-coloured exterior finishing. Here though, we've got the top Commerce Pro trim. This further adds 16-inch Montreal silver alloy wheels, power folding mirrors, a heated, heat-reflected laminated windscreen, heated seats, a wireless phone charger, and adaptive cruise control too. Plus there's also a package of extra camera drive assist features. We're going to cover those off for you though in a moment. What about extras? Well, as usual with a van, there's the option of a single front passenger seat if you don't want the 2-person bench there. If you want to give the cab a bit of a visual lift, then there are 2 trimming packs. They're called either Life, which is the one that we have here, and Style. Avoid base trim, and you can also add navigation. And with this top spec model, there's the option too of a Harman Kardon sound system with 4 speakers. Although, if you choose that, actually, you won't be able to have the load-through bulkhead. If you haven't stretched up to top spec, you might want the connectivity package. This will give you extra USB ports, 12-volt outlets, and a wireless charging mat. Lights and Vision package gives you 2 items which are also available separately, namely a digital rear view mirror and the brand's IQ Light LED matrix headlamps. Alternatively, the headlights can feature this test model's cornering light and poor weather light package. The LED rear lights, they can be had with the exclusive light signature that we also have here. You might want to look at roof rails or at this test model's 3 folding roof rack system. And we'd probably want the cargo space package, which gives you a wooden floor covering with 3 airline rails, plus plastic protective load bay panels, extra tie downs, a load area 12-volt socket, and 3 super bright LED cargo compartment lights. You might also want a heated sound insulated windscreen, an extra sliding side door, and powered side door operation. What else? Well, a tailgate could replace the 2 back doors. Diesel models can be had with a larger 70-litre fuel tank, and of course you can add a digital tachograph and a tow bar. Bear in mind, unless you go for one of the solid exterior colours, blue, red, white or grey, you'll have to pay extra for metallic paint. We've got mid-blue metallic here. Alloy wheels of either 16, 17 or 19 inches are available. Of course, you shouldn't bother with that if you regularly deliver to muddy building sites or something. If that is the case, then you could consider adding all-season tyres, or maybe even the off-road package, which includes steel underbody cladding. And finally, the e-Transporter can be had with a 230-volt converter with an outlet in the cab and 2 more in the load bay for the powering of external equipment like tools and lights, or maybe laptops and kettles. We'll finish by considering safety. Euro NCAP awarded this model its highest rating possible. It got a Platinum award and a 98% total score, so as you'd expect, all the safety basics are well covered, including front collision warning with braking, lane assist and dynamic road sign display, plus front and curtain airbags, all linked to the usual e-call system. This top Commerce Pro trim level adds wrong way driver warning, cross traffic assist, swerve support, rear traffic alert and a clever rear traffic alert view system which displays a wide camera view when you're reversing and a vehicle is just about to cross behind you. Plus there is also blind spot assist, reverse brake assist. This will automatically brake the vehicle to avoid costly low speed parking knocks, and exit warning too, which stops the cab doors being opened in the face of any oncoming vehicles or cyclists. If you've chosen a lower Transporter trim level but you're looking to add into it one of Volkswagen's optional parking packages, you might find that a number of these extra Commerce Pro camera assist features are added in. You may or may not be convinced by all this 7th generation Transporter's flashy technology and its potential for electrified powertrains, but what you'll really want to know here is whether it's a more practical proposition than its predecessor. Rest assured it is. Now here at back, buyers choose between the tailgate or these wide opening twin doors. Now with a normal wheelbase and a standard roof height, as we have here, capacity has increased by over 10% to 5.8 cubic meters. Thanks to the longer 3,100mm wheelbase, there's a maximum load length of 2,602 mils. That's 60mm longer than the previous model for this short wheelbase version. This extends to 3,050 mils with the load-through bulkhead in use. For the long wheelbase model, the load compartment length is 3,002mm. That extends to 3,450 mils if you use that load-through bulkhead. To better accommodate Euro pallets, the cargo bay is now 128mm wider. It measures 1,777 mils or 1,392mm between the wheel arches. If you decide you need the long wheelbase version, storage volume increases to 6.8 cubic meters, courtesy of a maximum load length of 3,002 mils. And with a Transporter featuring a long wheelbase and a high roof, you'll have up to 9 cubic meters to play with. If you want a better mix of space flexibility for packages and people than either this panel van or the alternative combi crew van can offer, then as with a comparable Ford Transit Custom, you can instead opt for a panel van body shape which comes with an innovative L-shaped bulkhead, which VW calls the Plus. This offers second row seating without too much of an impact on rear cargo space. Across the Transporter lineup, there is a higher payload than with the previous generation Model 2, up to 1,280 kilos with the diesel versions. That's a 0.13 tonne increase. It's up to 1 tonne for the EV variant. As we told you in our driving section, this diesel derivative can tow up to 2.8 tonnes. It's up to 2.3 tonnes with the EV. You can add the super bright LED cargo bay lights that we have here with switchable lighting around the rear doors and a 12-volt socket. There's usual sliding side door. This reveals an aperture 1,030mm wide, and with this normal roof height 1,301mm high. You can also pay extra to add an additional sliding side door on the other side. New for this 7th generation Transporter is the option for these side doors to be power operated. That's a real boon for operators approaching with their hands full of packages. The cargo bay interior can be customized with partition walls. This is according to your needs. At the very least, we think you're probably going to need to install the ply lining kit that we have fitted here. You can take up to 170 kilos on the roof, and that might encourage you to specify the 3 folding roof rack system that's fitted to this test model. Enough with loading practicalities. What about running costs? Well, most customers will choose diesel variants. Now with manual transmission, the 2 volume 110 PS and 150 PS units record up to around 40 miles per gallon on the combined cycle and up to around just over 180 grams per kilometre of CO2. Obviously, it's not quite as good if you've chosen the 150 PS unit with 4Motion 4-wheel drive. Economy drops to just 33.2 miles per gallon. Or if you've got a more powerful 170 PS auto front-driven version like this one, where the figures fall to bests of 37.7 mpg and 198 grams per kilometre. If your business needs to make more of an eco statement, but it's not quite ready for a full EV, then you'll possibly be interested in the PHEV petrol model that we told you about in the driving section. That has an 11.8 kilowatt hour battery offering 34 miles of EV range. The 3.7 kilowatt charging speed means it'll take around 4 hours to charge from empty to full. Combined cycle fuel economy is quoted at around 175 miles per gallon. In reality, if you keep the vehicle regularly charged up, you'll probably record running cost figures rather similar to those you'd get with the diesel. Obviously, the cleanest and the most efficient version of this model is the e-Transporter though. Now, as we told you in our driving section, this offers a 64 kilowatt hour usable capacity battery, which with the base 136 PS motor is capable of up to 200 miles between charges. Inevitably, that drops a bit with the 2 more powerful motor options. It's up to 192 miles with the 218 PS motor, while the top 286 PS version can only manage 163 miles between charges. The e-Transporter's 64 kilowatt hour battery charges up to 125 kilowatts. DC public charging can take the battery from 10 to 80% capacity, so from around 35 miles of range to around 190 miles of range in 39 minutes. As for AC charging, a full charge takes 9.8 hours from a 7.4 kilowatt wall box, or 6.6 hours if you use a 3-phase 11 kilowatt supply. A domestic 3-pin socket would need a yawning 31.4 hours for a full recharge. The battery's charge profile has been designed to front load the energy, which allows the 125 kilowatt fast charge to add 23 miles of range in just 5 minutes for quick top-ups. And better still, the 1-pedal brake regen driving system can keep the battery topped up as you journey on. With this 7th generation model, services have to be carried out every 2 years or 25,000 miles, whichever comes around first. As we filmed, there were 58 Volkswagen van centres in the UK. And now Volkswagen's offering what it calls a 5+ promise as standard. This gives you 5 services and 3 MOTs, a 5-year, 124,000 mile warranty, and 5 years of roadside assistance. So it's a useful reason to choose a Transporter over its Transit Custom cousin. As every business owner knows, the cheapest option isn't always the most cost-effective one. In the medium-sized Mercedes Vito and Vivaro class van sector, this Transporter is a perfect example of that. There are certainly cheaper alternatives, but few of those can match this Volkswagen's build quality or its residual values. The Wolfsburg strategy has always been with this model to provide the right van for every customer, and nothing's changed with this Generation 7 version. It remains very Volkswagen, and that's despite the borrowed Ford design and engineering. Volkswagen calls this model line an icon. Well, it's not quite that, but the Transporter series is certainly the most enduring model line that the commercial vehicle industry has ever seen, and a vehicle with a greater history of development than any other in the segment. A more spacious cargo bay and some extra technology have built on that legacy, and that cements this T7 model's proposition in the sector. And it underlines this product's importance for potential business customers. It all means that, like the vehicle itself, this Volkswagen's market proposition remains as solid as ever.